Hey guys, and welcome back. Today we're going to take a look at Sunekichi's Seifer's open deck. It's going to be yellow flyers. It's featured as one of the decks of his 4 that he chose, and he ended up winning the tournament. So this deck probably played a strong role in that victory. And yellow flyers has definitely picked up in popularity recently on the ladder. I've been playing against it a lot, and I feel that it's quite strong at the moment. It has good options for red combat and choking sands, being able to kill bosses with one Faeria advantage, you know, making sure that combat trigger doesn't generate that economy. It has a lot of mobility as well, so generally the old school like yellow tricks, but with that flying package. Top it up with Windborn Champion, so you have that big heavy hitter with a lot of mobility. Now this deck is actually more focused on mobility than anything else. It doesn't run Drakkar Skycaptains. It does run 3 Flash Winds, 2 Fanatics, and 3 Champions. So there's a lot of mobility tricks in this build. So it's not relying on building up value and power-ups like the old Drakkar Skycaptain build. This is going for a more tempo mid-range orientated version, which uses its mobility as its main way of winning matches. So let's get into some games and see how this deck performs. Alright guys, into our first game. We won't be able to use any of the cards we found in the opening hand, so we are just going to full mulligan the lot. And now we picked up some emissaries. That's going to make life a little easier. We're going to be able to get a collector down turn 2. We would like to see air elemental, you know, to get that land ramp going, making sure we can get the champions online as quickly as possible. But you can't get what you want in card games at all times, so we just have to do the best with what we've got. And it's going to be Blue Rush or something. I don't know. Well, I guess we'll find out. Let's drop down an emissary, and then we can just pass. So I don't want to reveal that I have another flyer in hand. And my opponent could just assume it's going to happen anyway, but it may affect my opponent's decision making if I withhold that. Playing the second emissary does open up some mobility lines to collect on the right hand side. So I could Flash Wind, I could Fanatic, you know, there's a few things I could do in order to get that going. But as you can see, now I'm open to clear this out. I just need to decide, is the Flash Wind worth the 1 Faeria? I don't think so. I think I'll keep the mobility for now. We might need it for a little later. Because I can mobility. I could actually just Fanatic this in between the wells. That's also an option as well. So I can make sure I get into double collection on the follow-up, and then I don't have to use the emissary as a way to clear my opponent's threat. So I can rely on the Fanatic now in combination with the Soul Drain, and that can be a way that I can deal with a creature that comes down. So I do dump all my Faeria into this play, leaving my opponent on 7 Faeria to work with. We could see like a Ninja Toad maybe come out. No, it's just going to be a pass. Alright. So we get double collect, you know, start to build that economy back up. Another Fanatic. You know what? My opponent's played pretty slow, so I'm going to use this opportunity to start pushing some face damage. And then next turn I can like Flash Wind, move, and then if I draw a flyer, I can push another 5. So enabling some form of race here. Is that going to be Beirut? This can't be a Beirut. It can be a Beirut. Whether it should be a Beirut or not is another question. I don't know. 10 Faeria. A lot to work with here. It is Beirut. Of course it's Beirut. That's fine. Beirut only hits 1 land this turn. I'm absolutely fine with that. Now we don't have a flyer, so I don't mind keeping this in double. 1 Flash Wind. Like, I need to decide how what am I going to do this turn? Am I just going to push 6 damage? I can go 6 damage. That does beat the 8 in the race. I do have Soul Drain, Spirit Theft, so I have ways that I can leverage stuff. I guess I could draw instead, because then if I get a flyer, like the Air Elemental, I can actually now push more damage. and still be in a pretty good position to challenge this in the future. We got 7 attack here. We got Soul Drain, Spirit Theft. We can get our own Beirut if we want. So that was a pretty good draw. I think the Air Elemental was solid. Its attack stat lined up with a removal plan on Beirut. Now the thing is, the Beirut play has said, I'm just going to race you with Beirut. Perhaps not expecting to take 8 damage that turn. You know, I'm 1 off lethal now. So maybe I actually should have moved this to the middle and thought about that a bit more. Humbling Visions. So I would have still had lethal if this was in the middle. So a little misstep from me. Let's take a draw. We may find a mobility trick. We do not. That's fine. So we want to take the 3 damage now because of the Humbling Visions. You can hit this. Jump across. Soul Drain. Spirit Theft. Just play an Air Elemental. Number 3. And that's going to probably wrap the game up. You know, I'm 15 life. I have 3 creatures around my opponent's orb. I could have set up lethal if I'd gone into the middle Fanatic, so that's something to consider in the future with all this mobility. And then we have it. Going to take the win. Good game to my opponent. In a blue rush is not something I expect to see. Maybe my opponent thought I was playing yellow rush and decided to try and race me instead with the Beirut. You know, thinking that there won't be a last nightmare or there won't be an answer. But good game. Let's move on to our next match. Alright guys, we're going up against the number 1 player on the ladder right now. S of Dawn. The man who has tortured me with OTK decks. Do we keep this hand? It looks pretty good to me. I mean, yeah, I think this just opens up a lot of options. I feel that if you're going to be playing at this top end of ladder, you want to be playing a tier 1 deck. So Choking Sands gives me options against red combat. But I'm kind of just expecting Reaver, to be honest. Oh no, it's going to be also a Yellow Flyers deck. Oh wow, okay. This makes things quite interesting. Because we can split off. Just like Esiv has done here, we can go for like a split. Or I could go for the Drake Rider. I kind of don't want to go for the Drake Rider against yellow. Choking Sands is such good value against it. So let's split off, you know, let's go down the other side. Now we're both in a similar position where we're going to have a lot of deserts early on, which is going to impact our mobility plays going forward. So as considering what to do next, I could have a Soul Drain. Soul Drain's a nice clean answer. I unfortunately didn't have one myself. Air Elemental's going to collect off the well for sure. I can't really see it doing much else. We could see another land, maybe another creature. I'd like to see a Drake Rider from S this turn just so I can punish it. Goes for Fanatic, pushing the Air Elemental into double collection. And then this Fanatic also threatens double collection itself. So just kind of setting up stuff here. What do I want to do? So I could go for the Bloatfly as a 2 Faeria card to challenge the Air Elemental. I could also draw and try and find myself a Drake Rider, a Soul Drain, sorry. I could also go for a Choking Sands on this and then push my Air Elemental into double collection later on with the Flash Wind. Or I could use the Flash Wind now to clear this and just drop the Drake Rider. I'm actually more inclined to go that direction right now because my opponent has set up a land here. If I go for the Flash Wind play, I can clear this out and play the Drake Rider. Now, if my opponent plays something within Choking Sands range, I should get the trigger as well as a double collection. So I'm I'm kind of going for like a maximum economy play, but also getting the most out of my Drake Rider. It's going to be a Bloatfly, so I'm able to get full value here. Double collect and kill this card. But the double collection is going to be negated by the Choking Sands. And I think it's worth it, mainly because I get to deal with the Bloatfly. I don't open myself up to Spirit Theft. And then I could easily just kind of land here and stick my own Bloatfly down and stick it in between the wells. So I now have a 5/6. So Demand's a nightmare. So it's got the value, it's got the corrupt value. I got the double collect as well, so I kind of made up the inefficiency of the Choking Sands. And I'm also sitting on the desert where the Bloatfly can get value, so I can even just give up double collection in order to generate more creatures. And then build on my hand advantage over my economy. So yeah, we'll see what happens. We'll see what S gets up to. Because this is looking like a mirror. S is really far ahead in the economy race right now. 10 Faeria to work with. As a double collector, which I haven't found an answer to just yet. We can see a champion push my my Drake Rider out of the way. Could see him push back down or push to the middle, or push just somewhere awkward. So champion is definitely an option now, going on the 5 deserts. So there's going to be a champion. I'm curious to see what he pushes. He's going to push the Bloatfly instead to see if he can stop the corruption trigger. But I drew very well actually, picking up the Flash Wind to kill the champion. Now I just need to draw a Soul Drain, and I'm pretty much in the money. Didn't find one, unfortunately. So we'll move that back over. And what we can see, we could spend the 2 Faeria to move this to me instead, so I'm not in range of the Air Elemental. Now I've got a feeling that S is actually sitting on a Spirit Theft. Mainly because of where the Bloatfly was played the other turn. So he played the Bloatfly, he expects my Drake Rider hit, and then he Spirit Thefts it. I think that was his plan initially. So this can try collect. I actually feel that I want to kill this for sure. So yeah, let's kill this, and let's go for another Drake Rider. So just putting another big threat down. We're not doing too well in Faeria, but we are the dominant player on board at least. So we're forcing S to play reactive. Now I just want to know if that Spirit Theft is there. So Nightmare is my 3/4, which is pretty good for me as a 1 Faeria advantage. Doesn't have the Spirit Theft after all. Oh, this is a Soul Pact variant. Ah, I see. Okay, so there have been versions I've seen on ladder which run Soul Pact. In Sunekichi's version, he doesn't run Soul Pact. He actually runs a different build altogether. I've seen the Soul Pact variants, and they also run the Sunsilk Fairies. Well, I've seen them run the Sunsilk Fairies. So we get to just push this out the way. We get to take the corruption, get the value, and then we get the clear. And there we go. S is just going to scoop there, because it's going to be very difficult for him to come back with no Faeria at that point. Because the last Nightmare was actually quite sad, because he lost a Faeria in killing my Drake Rider, and then he just had to put an Air Elemental down right next to my Bloatfly, so I don't generate the corrupt value. But what that actually ended up doing was allowing me to play a champion in this way, and then generate that Bloatfly. And then from that position, I have this 5/5 that can kind of zip around the board and do all sorts of nonsense to stop S from ever gaining control of the wells again. But good games to S. Let's move on to our next match. Alright guys, we are going to run it back with S of Dawn still holding at #1 rank. Now we know we're playing against yellow flyers. We didn't see any Drake Riders from S, so I'm actually quite happy to... You know, actually this hand worked out really well last time. Maybe I just go for it. I don't know, it's tricky. You know, I'm going to throw away the Choking Sands this time and hoping that, I was hoping to find like a Soul Drain. Let's see if S has stayed on the same deck. Could have changed. Explore, Desert, Air Elemental? Again? So this is definitely a run back. Now I just draw Air Elemental and I am in the money. Alright, I guess I just drop Drake Ride and hope there's no Choking Sands. Now I do have the Flash Wind, so I do have ways to zip around the board and take the Corrupt. And the Corrupt is really good because it forces the Nightmare in most cases, because yellow flyers don't run Wind Soldier. The from hand removal is generally hard removal, so stuff like Choking Sands in Last Nightmare, and then they have their damage based removal, which also applies healing. Now the Choking Sands on the Drake Ride is really good. You gain a Faeria advantage by using it on that card, but the Nightmare is actually a disadvantage, and that's what's really that's an interesting dynamic for me in a situation like this. So it goes for another Air Elemental. So I'm going to play around a mobility trick here by putting the desert in a safer spot. Little does S know I have double mobility. So I'm able to actually mobility up again, take the Corrupt, and then push this little guy, and he's going to go into double collection for me. So now S needs Soul Drain or double Spirit Theft. And I think that's one of the weaknesses flyers can have. They don't have like the full removal package that yellow offers. The Wind Soldier and the Soul Drain. Mainly, the main reason flyers doesn't run Wind Soldier is because it isn't a flying creature and doesn't kind of complement the land placement that flyers generally goes for. So flyers likes to go for, you know, building this kind of arrowhead, this arrowhead formation. And the arrowhead formation basically just allows... Oh wow, okay. Oh, sorry. So yeah, so it just basically allows for like this kind of like optimal way to play the deck. So I have, I'm so close to killing this, which is really sad. I mean, I'm a Faeria off doing what I want to do because I've already collected, unfortunately. So I think I'm going to take a draw just to find a Soul Drain. I think a Soul Drain benefits me greatly in this situation. Didn't find one, unfortunately. So we can just push the Air Elementals now. Here. I think I'm going to take this spot. Or maybe I can actually go here, then Air Elemental here. But actually, I'd rather Air Elemental in this spot here. So we're just setting up kind of like contingency collect. I'm going to call them contingency collectors. So I've got this guy in double. I've got 2 Air Elementals now. So this guy, so the emissary will eventually push up. That's the idea. And then we'll see what my opponent's emissary gets up to. It looks like it's going to move defensive or maybe just take a mobility trick here to kill my Air Elemental. So very back and forth. Both collecting on opposite sides, trying to outvalue each other in our resource game by using mobility, using removal. Let's see what happens. I think it's going to be Fnatic. No, it's going to be a Drake Rider. Okay. Drake Rider's pretty good. So S does run them. I now know this. Choking Sands, pretty good top deck. Didn't find it, unfortunately. But we do have the good old Champion. Now, Champion is pretty good here because I get to push this to here and then kill it. I just need to decide what else I want to do. I might take +1 this turn. I feel like +1 is probably where I want to go. We can just take care of this, no problem. And just go +1. Just to try and build a resource advantage. Like, we're behind on hand, but we're ahead on board. Now, the one danger we have when killing the air elemental on the left is we do open ourselves up to spirit theft. Goes for the nightmare. That's good value. That's a 1 Faeria advantage to us with that nightmare. Now, I'm talking a lot about this. You know, these little advantages do build up. So now I guess we draw. Just kind of see what's up. Spirit theft. Okay. I kind of don't want to play anything, to be honest. Maybe we just pass. Like, I could play Drake Rider, I suppose. I do threaten. I think the threat of Drake Rider's pretty good here, because we're still matching Faeria and we're getting ahead on board. So we both actually have the exact same. The only issue now is that S does collect 1 more Faeria than me, because he gets to collect with the emissary, but he does open himself up to dying at the hands of my emissary or dying at the hands of my air elemental. Takes a draw. Now, has the opportunity the mobility trick me back now with the champion? Maybe that's probably why I don't play the Drake Rider in this situation.
Wild wind.
Alright, Wildy wins. So Kaleem's actually pretty solid here because it allows S to replace this creature. Given a situation where, so let's say I was able to kill this with a Soul Drain, S will still have a backup creature that can double collect. Now I really want to find this. I really want to find a Choking Sands. That's where I'm at right now. I just want that Choking Sands to kill this. I don't really have a good mobility line, unfortunately, other than turning this into a 5/6 and probably pushing face. Like, I could clear this, but I think these are quite expendable at this point, so I could just clear this anyway. Actually, yeah, I think I've got the line I want. So I go for the clear. I could have actually shimmied these around, but we'll go for the clear. We'll take the champion in the middle. Get the corrupt. Go +1 and take a bloat fly behind. Do I want to hear? I actually don't mind it here so much. I think he is pretty good though. It gives me 2 options. This gives me 2 options, but also gives me the face option. But I want to trigger the corrupt. It actually blocks collection if Kaleem goes for like a kind of like a arrowhead mobility trick. So we represent 10 damage next turn. Now the bloat, if I was running Wind Soldier, I think the aggressive bloatfly line would be better because then I could threaten lethal potentially. Well, actually no, I wouldn't have enough space. I wouldn't have enough space around S's orb to threaten lethal with the Wind Soldier. I don't think it really matters. Takes a draw. I think it's always good when your opponent draws when they're behind, because it kind of tells you that they don't have the like perfect options. Now, if my champion survives, I do get the threat in that 10 damage, which is also good. But if I do lose my Drake Rider to a Last Nightmare, which could potentially happen, we could just see Drake Rider get taken out here. Because it's the most threatening creature. Also, but actually, probably kill the emissary. I think the champion. The champion still represents as much trouble as the Drake Rider, but it has more mobility. But as long as he lives, hits an orb, generates a follower to collect, and then plays a champion? Interesting. Plays a Drake Rider. Okay. This is turning into a very interesting game. So I'm going to kill the Drake Rider for sure. I mean, I could just push 10 damage, I guess. But my opponent has a lot of options around his orb now to defend. And I can get a Kaleem with the Spirit Theft. That's also another thing to consider. So I can go here, kill this, go here, generate the extra Bloatfly, kill this. Hit Kaleem, spend the Faeria, take this guy out. Do I just play another Drake Rider at that point? Because if I want to, I'm going to need a +1. Or I could just play Kaleem. Actually, this is probably better. Okay, let's do it.
Embrace the wild.
So so Kaleem's a little better than Drake Rider here, I feel. Because it means I can't really get blocked. Because he has 2 deserts. There is potential to play like 2 Bloatflies or something to block me. And then Kaleem also generates the followers. So that also represents the 5 damage. But it just gives me another creature, which is awesome. So I could potentially collect more Faeria going forward. I know there could be an argument for Drake Rider to be the target there, to be played. But I don't have to reveal... Ez knows I have a Kaleem, so I'm just giving him information that he already knows. If Kaleem does get answered here by the Choking Sands, I mean, I can just drop the Drake Rider then, and then I have that 5 damage anyway. So there may be a pro to the Drake Rider, I guess, because it plays around Choking Sands after the Corruption trigger. Kaleem generates an additional threat to my hand if I do get that orb damage. There's a lot of things to think about, really. Takes the Soul Pact. Takes the Soul Pact. Goes into the Emissary. So Kaleem is better at dealing with Emissary in this situation. And then scoots up with the Air Elemental. So I just clear the board. So we're in a situation now where clearing the board is just amazing. It's so good. Yeah, so we can scoot. Let's do this first. So we kill this. We kill this. We can Fanatic. Wait, so how much Faeria do I generate? So if I Fanatic this up to here, I go 7 + 1 into... Let's do it. That just wins us the game. And that just wins us the game. Like, we clear the board and we play loads more guys. So we have it, having a win streak, beating S twice, our rank 1 player currently. Feels good. Like, this build feels really solid. It just it can apply a lot of pressure with the mobility, and it has a lot of cheap threats, and the corrupt mechanic is very deadly. You have to respect it. You have to answer it, or it's just going to generate so much value. And this deck generates a lot of value already in collecting Faeria, taking optimal clears thanks to mobility, and then you have the corrupt mechanic on top of that. Feels good, guys. Feels good. Alright, good games, S. Let's move on to our next match. Alright, guys, into another match. Things have been going really well for us today. This deck is really solid. I like it. So we're going to keep the Drake Rider. And I think we just throw these 2. I think we just try and find alternatives to the Drake Rider. Oh, we just... Flashwind's great. So mobility and Drake Rider are a good combo. It does allow us to get that corruption trigger. And finds a way for us to get that down. We also have the Explore this time. So we can go Desert, Explore Desert, and have Drake Rider on that double collection spot ready. Now what... is our opponent playing another yellow deck? We've had S play yellow against us twice. Is it going to be an Air Elemental? No, it's going to be a pass. Alright. So let's scoot across here and get the Drake Rider down. So just keep in mind, if you're kind of new to how Corrupt works as a mechanic, you can't preemptively get into the Corrupt spot. So if I was to Flashwind Drake Rider, say if I played Drake Rider next turn and then I Flash Wind it on the same turn it was played, its corrupt mechanic won't trigger. It needs to manually move onto a land when it becomes an active creature. You could call Drake Rider right now an inactive creature. Oh, it's a Nat deck. Not always what I expect. But we do have a Soul Drain. We have a way to answer it. Oh, nice. So that's even better. So as long as this Nat doesn't go right in front of me, I'm in a pretty good spot. Because now I can Soul Drain a Demon Wing, get the Corrupt trigger, and kill the Wrangler. So this all works out very nice. And I don't actually have to use much else. I can just go for like aggro desert now and just play like an emissary. I guess I could play Kaleem. It's a bit all in on my Faeria. Wind Soldiers could be a thing, Choking Sands could be a thing. So let's play the emissary. Let's see what options my opponent has to deal with this. Now we're in a 10 damage race situation right now. Nat can hit for 1, put us down to 19. Opponent's already at 18. So we can actually just push 10 damage. Okay, so there's no land going in front of my opponent's orb this turn. So we might just see Wind Soldier clean out. But Wind Soldier won't be able to collect Faeria. That's one thing to consider. So there's no aggressive lands from the Nat placement unless we see an Air Elemental. And there's going to be no block. So I can just go 10 damage into Kaleem. That's an option now. And then my opponent just needs to find the answers next turn. It's going to be another Nat. So probably just going to block. So we have to block a Nat. So if I pick up any removal, I'd be in a very good situation. So we're going to use the health. Do we use... See, this is an interesting one because I could use the health of my Drake Rider. I can use the health of my Emissary. If I use the health of my Emissary, I open up to Soul Drain. It wasn't a Wind Soldier last time. So I'm going to assume that Soul Drain is probably the answer. So let's take the damage there. I'll take the clear on the Nat. And it respawns back in the same spot. It's pretty hilarious. And then I guess we just play a Drake Rider's not that good. Unless I put in double collection. I guess I do have the Flash Wind, so maybe double collection is not a bad spot. I'll take another desert because we need 5 anyway. I'm just wondering if I play Kaleem or Drake Rider. Again, it's that decision. Kaleem or Drake Rider? Let's play Drake Rider. We have the Flash Wind now, so we can use the mobility on the Flash Wind to get the Corrupt trigger and potentially push some damage as well. So right now, I don't think the annoying Nat is going to win the race. Maybe we just see Doomsday come down. Doomsday is going to deal a lot of damage to my opponent. Actually, the Nats might trigger. I'm not sure how it works. I don't know if the Nats trigger first or the Doomsday triggers first when it comes to the self-inflicted damage. Damage, Soul Drain. Yep. So actually 1 off lethal currently, which could also be there's also a problem that can be solved with a piece of removal. So if I pick up Soul Drain or Spirit Theft, I can find lethal that way. Demon Wrangler. Oh, he actually killed himself. So now I think he's thinking, oh wait, if I wrangle something, I'm gonna... No, it doesn't even consider it. Okay, so that's just gonna be good games unless there's something comes down in the middle. Yep, GG's. So, not respecting the amount of mobility that Yellow Flyers has, and that's gonna take another win against a different type of yellow deck this time. Some kind of like yellow Nat Flyers. But good game to my opponent. It's tricky. I think if my opponent is watching this, just consider now that Yellow Flyers will probably be running more mobility thanks to Sunekichi's success in the Seifer's Open. So yeah, that's just one thing to think about going forward. But good game. Let's move on to our final one. Alright, so our final game is going to be up against the Duke of Prunes, Dickleton. No, a player who has played a lot of Faeria in the past, quite in touch with the competitive community, and look at that, it's a desert. So I did play Faeria earlier on, and all I played against was Reaver, and now all I'm playing against is yellow. And it's probably in response to Sunekichi posting his list up, because this wasn't the original deck I was going to run today. But I did ultimately decide to play this after I saw Sunekichi posted up, so I was just like, sick, so I can play the #1 spot. Originally, I was going to play Rundong's Bargain Rush, but it's a bit strange. I've never really played much Bargain Rush in the past. Oh no, it's different. It's a demon. So do I Nightmare the Demon? The Nightmare Demon seems really sad. I guess not. I think I'm just going to run away and just let the demon do some work. Chip away at my opponent's life. We also open up the Spirit Theft line going into the next turn, depending on what happens with this demon. Now we might see Kaleem's training mobility. Maybe just kill the Fanatic. Maybe go face. I'm not sure. We could just see actually Kaleem's training, double collect, clear the Fanatic. That's actually pretty good. So yeah, we can kill the double collector. Oh, so it's just going to be a normal push. Okay. So we have a lot of mobility going forward. I'm not keen on leaving the double collector, but I don't feel like I have much of a choice. I'm actually gonna I'm considering using a Flash Wind here just to get some extra Faeria, but Faeria is not really an issue, so I don't need to do that. I think I just kill this. And then just play it myself. Just play my own demon. And I can use the mobility next turn. Potentially on the Fanatic to clear that out. We also have Champion. So Champion is going to be our big play. Champion's really going to shape the rest of this match for us. Because we are behind on Faeria and creatures. So Dickleton definitely has the board control right now. So another Spirit Theft picked up. Okay. So we're going to go for our last desert. I think I Nightmare this. It's really bad, actually, going for a Nightmare on this target. But I get to take control of the left side. And I feel that's really important right now. Because I don't have the luxury to draw. So we actually stick the champion here for a very specific reason, because the diagonal charge 5 lets us kill the emissary here. If we played it in this position, so I'm kind of saving this for later. I guess I actually could have just played this. I couldn't have played this here. Oh, I guess I could have actually. I could have mobilitied in a specific way. And he's gonna Nightmare this. So yeah, he gets a better Nightmare than me, unfortunately. Another demon. Oh my goodness. Demons for days. Quite demonic. Okay. So we have a play. Let's just go for it. We can +1 this turn. I want to make sure my Faeria count's good. My opponent has been collecting a lot recently. So our plan is to kill the... I'm probably just going to get Choking Sands here. Or you're going to see mobility. If mobility is the response here, I do get the option to Spirit Theft at least. Spirit Theft and then play the demon. And I can play it down here. Our quality of hand is pretty poor. We picked up lots of mobility, but nothing. We never really had any early game pressure or any early game stability. Like, we didn't pick up air elementals or emissaries. And now we're just kind of in a position now where, yeah, there's just way too much ball control going on. It's very difficult for me to come back. And as you can see, Dickleton actually prioritized the collection here. So in these kind of yellow mirrors, resources are much more valuable than damage. I'm going to take a draw. That could be something that could get me back in a match. It's not looking likely. I guess champion's okay. I can push this away from me. Yeah, okay. It's not going to do much, though, champion, unfortunately. I'm so vulnerable to removal. Another nightmare, Wind Soldier Soul Drain. Lots of different removal options here. Another mobility trick. So just a Flash Wind here is enough to kill my champion. I also have the problem of having to answer the creatures at my orb. I don't have a lot of Faeria to work with. Okay, this is risky, but I don't really see a way I get back into this match without going for something a little risky. Clearing the guide, and hopefully keeping that one life, that 5-1, and being able to use it. No, this is a Soul Drain. So I was just kind of hoping that Dickleton didn't have removal, and I was just able to like leverage that 5-1 next turn, and then get like the corrupt trigger on the move, then double Flash Wind, and then clear a creature. It would have been it's very ambitious, but I don't see another way I win that match. He even just had lethal with the Wind Soldier anyway, so it didn't really matter. But good game. My first loss this episode, and it is the final match, which is unfortunate, but this deck has been fantastic. That concludes this episode featuring the fantastic Flyers build from Sunekichi that took first place in the last Seifer's Open. I really like dropping the Skycaptain to the slower stuff and going for that kind of high tempo, high mobility lines. Very strong build. Definitely recommend giving it a try if you're looking to climb. It looks like other players are starting to tap into yellow Flyers as a way to climb the ladder. We saw Essa Dawn use it. We saw kind of a different version of Flyers from Dickleton. So definitely a deck that's picking up in popularity. If you like this video, be sure to give it a thumbs up. If you haven't already, drop a subscribe to keep up to date of when our content goes live. This week I've covered Red Combat. So the return of Red Combat following the Underground boss buff. I also explored that buff in one of my favourite archetypes, the Green-Red Salamander, seeing if the boss can contribute to it making a comeback in the meta. It was okay, it wasn't bad, but still one of my favourite decks, and I really enjoyed playing it. So until next time, guys, take care, and I hope you enjoyed Sunekichi's Yellow Flyers.